Yeah, so good evening, everyone, from everywhere you're watching us from all over the world. We are so glad to have everybody on call this evening. So as we prepare for the AOT 5.0, which the general theme is the creative economy and the digital Lagos. So we are so glad to have this session again this evening. And we have our wonderful speakers online, our panelists. They are on this call. And so quickly, I'll just be introducing them. So we have Adedoyin on the call, we have Lois on the call, we have Damola on the call. And also for myself, I am Oluwatosin Olokobi, the Programs and Learning Manager at the Co-Innovation Center. I also have Damilola Akintola on this call, who happens to be the Comms Director for EIC. And so just very quickly, we're going into the session. And so this is our third session prior to the AOT meeting. And I want to tell you, if you're watching us from anywhere you're watching us from, I want you to trust that this session this evening is going to be an engaging one. And it's going to be a one that will learn. Everybody will have the opportunity to relearn, unlearn, and actually relearn. And that's what we are going to be doing. So this evening, we have a topic before us, and this topic is the creative passport. So if you carefully look at what this year themes is, we are working around the creative economy, the creative industry, because it has been discovered that this industry, if well maximized, is one of the industry that is very likely to actually generate a lot of revenue all over the world. And we can even see what is happening recently. We have a lot of persons, a lot of musicians from Nigeria going globally, mounting a lot of stage. We can see the last Ballon d'Or that was hosted. We see one of our musicians on the stage that he presented. So this is what we are looking at, and a lot of things are actually happening, even in the Nollywood industry. And so our panelists this evening will be doing a lot of justice to it. So we have the creative passport, unlocking global market access and collaborations in the digital Lagos. So when we say we are unlocking the global market access and collaboration in the digital Lagos, what are we trying to say? Lagos is a global megacity, an economic powerhouse, and that is just of the truth. If you look at the system, Nigeria, Lagos tends to be the major powerhouse of the economy, and that is why we are taking Lagos as a case study, because we are in partnership with Lagos hosting this session. And so very quickly, before we start this session, I'll just give our panelists just 1 minute each, just to actually share a few insight about the topic that we are talking about today. They are just giving just their own general overview of the session. And I'm going to be starting with Adedoyin. So after Adedoyin, Lois will be going, and so we have Damola. So Adedoyin, the floor is open to you. The audience, they want to hear what you have to say about the topic. Then we go into the panel session. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Damilola, confirming that you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, my network went off for a bit.
Oh, that's fine. Hello, everyone. My name is Adedoyin Jaisimi, and I particularly like this topic because, as Tosin said, we're in that space where we're seeing Nigerian creatives, especially our musicians, really hitting the global stage. So I feel like this conversation is to see how we can harness more of that on different skills, and not just in terms of music, in terms of art, food, culture, and just really exploring ways that we can also bring in revenue for the country and change narratives from this creative work that comes out of this country. So those are the few things I will share before the conversation. Thank you.
All right, that's so great to hear. So Lois, you want to say something? I'm so glad to have you on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Oluwatosin. So good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on where you're listening from. My name is Louis White Jenner, and I'm a UX designer and also a games advocate in the African games industry. So particularly, I was when I saw the topic, I was quite interested. I was quite happy because of what we have in today's economy, right? You can't really talk about building an economy without talking about the creative part of it. And then I was pretty glad with the speakers and all. So while we proceed, I would actually share what it takes and then how the game industry can also contribute to better the economy, especially that in Lagos State.
So that's so great to hear, and that's an impressive one. And so while we are saying the creative economy, we're not just talking about the musician, just like Adedoyin has shared. We have a lot of sector in the industry that we actually have to touch and see how they can actually make impact in that huge industry. And so I'm giving the floor to Damola to actually do justice just in 1 minute. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Glad to be among great speakers as well. Okay, so first is I'm a Lagosian, so I'm happy that this is focused on Lagos. We have a lot of talent, great things are happening, like you mentioned, in terms of music, the creative space in general. Earlier this year, a Nigerian agency won Cannes for the first time an African country is winning it, and that agency is based in Lagos. Africans are doing great things in different spaces, and I'm in the digital and marketing space of things, and for Lagos itself, we need to let the world know that Lagos is not just popular in terms of population, but there are a lot of great things happening here. We have great brands that the world needs to know about. And yeah, there are lots of Nigerian agencies now doing great things for brands all over the world. We have people working in marketing space all over the world as well, leading companies in different parts of the world. So marketing is an integral part of, elevating Lagos to the place that it should be. And I'm glad to be speaking on how we can leverage marketing for businesses and for Lagos in general. So thank you. I'm done speaking. Over to you, Lewis.
All right, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we are all aligned with today's session, and I can actually see the excitement on everybody's face. I'm looking from the angle of Adedoyin, who's going to be speaking. I know our own perspective is quite different from Lois' perspective, and so as Damola. But Damola, because you are a Lagosian and you're so excited, now you are making me feel somehow, but don't worry, we are all Lagosians. And I can see that even Adedoyin is smiling. We are all Lagosians. And we know that Lagos is the powerhouse, and that is why we are actually looking at what we can do. We know that if whatever can survive in Lagos State at a rate of 80%, we likely and we survive in any part of the country. And so that is why we are starting from here. And that's why this conversation is focused around Lagos. So thank you. I'll be giving the floor to Damilola Akintola, which is my colleague. And if you notice this call this evening, something is so excited. There is a gender balance. So, and that is one thing that is even happening in the creative economy. You see that even as the male are doing well, the female are also doing well. Is in the gaming, is in the creative content session, is it in other sector? And so we have Damilola on this call too, just to balance myself. And we also have Adedoyin who is balancing both Lois and Damola. So Damilola, you can go ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you to my colleague. Yes, there's a gender balance, and this is why my first question will be directed to Adedoyin. So, Adedoyin, drawing from your experience as a communications advisor, how can effective communication strategies be employed to amplify the global impact of Lagos-based creatives, considering the diverse and dynamic nature of the international audience?
Fantastic. Thank you for choosing me to go first. No pressure.
Yes.
Okay, so I think in terms of answering that question, when you're thinking about the international space going global, you know that the numbers are bigger, you know that the market is bigger. And so there needs to be something that makes you different in that bigger market. And that's why, for me, one of the first starting points would be, what is your unique selling point? I stumbled on a conversation a few days ago about it. Interestingly, it was about musicians and their sound and how certain sounds are more acceptable than others. And the conclusion of that post was, you just have to be authentic and you will find your people, you will find your community, you will find the people that are interested in either your sound, your craft, your design, or what it is that you're doing. But first of all, is really, really sitting down to say what is going to make me different, what is going to make me authentic, what is the quality I'm bringing to the table. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to go international, there's quality. There's a lot of music out there, there's a lot of movies, art and all, but the ones that stand out are the quality ones. So that's one of the first things. And what kind of audience do you want to attract? So those of us that work in communications and marketing, we know that we talk about audience segmentation. You can't possibly be talking to everybody. If I mention a particular actress or actor or someone that does creative design, some people may like the person, others may not. Not because they're not good or they're bad. It's just personal preference, and maybe that person is just not their audience. So you need to be able to determine who do I want to speak to in this big and broad global market, and then from there you can then decide on what kind of content do I want to be putting out, what channels and what platforms. Now the platforms are expanding, especially because there's excitement about content that's coming from Africa, especially Nigeria. So it's to determine what kind of platforms do I want to get to, what kind of audience do I want to reach. And I think most importantly for creatives is building a community around your crafts. In the pandemic, community has been really, really big. And you'll find that creatives are able to build a community around themselves and also have value that they give to their community, and their community also gives them value as well. So those are just some of the few strategies that I will suggest.
Oh, so great to hear from you, Adedoyin. That's a very, very wonderful one. And so one thing I picked is the fact that community, and while we talk about community, one thing that actually exists in a very, very healthy community is the fact that you always see collaborations. There's always synergy when you're talking about community, and of the fact that we are diverse human beings. So my priority might not be somebody else's priority. So somebody else might love the music, and somebody else might be so interested in the content sector. And so that's a very great one. I'm so glad to hear that. And so my next question, I'll be going to ask one of our gentlemen in the house, and you can actually see the question on the chat box. So as a games advocate and UX designer, how can the gaming industry contribute to the global recognition of Lagos creative scene? And what innovative approaches do you see for positioning Lagos as a hub for African game development? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Tosi. Can you hear me now?
I hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Now, talking about games, I just want to state a few facts which most persons are not really aware, right? Adedoyi talked about talked about movies and all, right? Firstly, it's good for us to know that the games industry is worth over $360 billion, right? And then that is to say that if you combine the net worth of a movie, the movie industry, and then you combine movie and then you bring that of music industry joins together, like combined, the game industry is still worth better than the both of them, right? But then why is it that the games industry is not really talked about, even if it has a bigger depth of finance more than these particular industries, which are music and then movies, right? And then looking at what we've seen lots of breakthroughs in the music sector, we've seen lots of breakthroughs in the movie sector, right? But still there's a problem, which is the games industry is not really talked about, and then many persons are not really aware that, okay, yes, this industry is worth like this, and then how they can tap into it and then key into the opportunities that lies within this particular space, right? So first of all, is for us to understand that the games industry is that big. Now, knowing that the game industry is that big, what next is for us to project? How do we go into the games industry? How do we partner? How do we make funds? How do we push our youth to boost this particular industry? Because yes, it's worth that big, right? But then there are little persons, there are little brands that are in that particular space. If you talk about music, I can mention like up to 10, 15 brands without even looking at anywhere, right? If you talk about musicians in itself, I can keep mentioning, we can mention like over 50 musicians and actors and actresses without stopping, right? That's to tell you how robust these industries are. But then if you look at the games industry, even if it's worth that much, right, we as Africans, we as Lagosians, we've not really tapped into it fully. And that is the major issue that we are seeing or we are facing in the games industry, right? It's it's the industry is there, it's so huge, but then we lack the people to go into this. We lack that people, we lack the resources to actually reap from it. Now, what we've been doing in time past, there are also brands in Lagos that have tried as much as possible to project this particular space. So what we need to do as individuals or as government, as whosoever we are, is to see how we can tap from the games industry, how we as Africans or how we as Lagosians can view and look at the opportunities and see how we can get funds from there and how we can project our youth and our citizens.
Thank you very much, Lois. That's a very, very great response. So hearing about the huge money, because I wouldn't lie to you. I know that in Africa, one thing that drives us, one major thing that drives us aside from the passion, is to see that money is there to actually sustain that passion. And to hear that even the gaming industry can actually contribute a lot of money into the economy, even than the music industry. So it means that from what you are saying, there is a gap of information outside there. A lot of persons doesn't know. People just feel, okay, this is in music. These are the people we are seeing. A lot of people are not really accessing the necessary information that are needed, and that's a very great one. And so I know that there are a lot of questions that will be coming up after now, and I know that our audience also have some questions to ask, but that's a very great one. So for Damola Richard, so I'll be going with you next, and you can actually assess this question on the chat box. How can digital inclusivity be strategically integrated into marketing initiatives, considering your extensive experience, and what role does it play in enhancing the overall impact of creative campaigns?
Okay.
I didn't get that question. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I do. Thank you. So thank you for the question. I think in my answer, I'll just give examples from some of the things that Louis and Adedoyin had mentioned. So inclusivity is important. It's basically making sure that everybody feels part of whatever you're doing. Lagos is a city that is very diverse. We have people of different ages, we have people of different cultures, people of different religions as well. So in terms of even how marketing is done, it's important that you are speaking to people with their different tribes and understanding the different nuances that come from the different cadre of people that you speak with as well. In just using the example that Doyin had given as well. So in terms of even how you communicate, it's important in terms of creating communities as well. So we've seen that people like a sense of belonging, and that also needs to translate in how you approach things in your marketing. So for us at DigiSplash, for example, one of our motto is to think like a shark. And one of the things we say is that you must be wavy. And being wavy means that you are in tune with culture and you're speaking to people in a language that they understand. So that also translates with marketing as well. So if you're targeting, so now that things are quite expensive, consumers are all about savings and maximizing the value of everything that they get. People are making more decisive in their choices. So they are looking at every detail in making financial obligations and the things that they do, in making the choices of the products that they go with. So inclusivity is more important than it has ever been. So if you're speaking to Gen Z age group, for example, even for Gen Zs, they are broken down into different tribes. You need to understand the language that those different tribes speak to. And that's what's going to help you grow. You need to speak their language. The ads that you're doing for them, you need to ensure that you're using models that fit them. The influencers you're using connect with them as well. And what we've seen is, based on even my experience and what is found all over the world, a recent research found that 64% of respondents, of people or women, would buy a brand that connects with them, that they feel is diverse and speaks to women as well. So we know that even when it comes to the bottom line and return on investment, marketing that is more diverse and inclusive sells more. So that's one of the things. Even in terms of how you're marketing, you need to consider that in how your creative campaigns are done. It's not just about what you think will work as a brand. You need to understand your target audience, understand what appeals to them. Before, brands were driving the conversations. Now, brands need to understand the conversations their target audience are having and joining in it. So whatever your marketing, your campaigns, your creatives need to speak to people in a language or in, you need to join the conversations they're already having and connect with them. Yeah, I'll say that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Damola. So that's a very great one. And I'm so impressed to hear that. So one thing I can actually pick from your session is the fact that while you are actually looking at your audience, we have to be so conscious of the fact that everything we are doing is user-centric. That is, people you are giving this, you want to give this solution to, or people you are selling to, you should be able to speak their language, be able to understand them from their context. However, everybody is trying to do the same thing. We are trying to solve the same problem, even in the marketing system. But then the audience in A community might be different from the audience in B community, and you must be able to relate well with those your audience. And that's a very, very impressive one. And so I'll give the floor to Damilola to actually continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Damola, for the insight you just gave in knowing who to target. By judging from what you just said, I think that would lead me to my other question to you. And that would be like, how can creative entrepreneurs in Lagos, you said something about trends, following the conversation, whatever that's happening currently, like how this, whatever targets that you're going to, whatever you're targeting has to be related to what's happening in the market currently, what is trending and all that. So how do you think creative entrepreneurs in Lagos can leverage these trends for sustainable growth?
Okay. In terms of how they can leverage them, I think the first thing is to even understand some of the trends. So I'll give you an example of a few. One thing would be fandom. So basically, fandom is like a subculture composed of fans that empathize and have a sense of camaraderie over a common interest. So we've seen that in Nigerians' love for BBM. Oh, sorry, yeah, Big Brother Niger. And we've seen how the influencers there or people that come out of the program have such pulling power. Businesses also need to understand that there are certain people, the generation we are in, like a sense of belonging and a sense of belonging, and that's in creating tribes and communities. So some of the great work that Coms Avenue, for example, have done is to leverage communities, and it's something that all brands need to understand as well. So people are not just going to buy your product or your service because they've heard of you or the things you do. People want a sense of belonging, and we see that as a generic need that people have all over the world. One of the things that you had also mentioned earlier was how our music in Nigeria is going all over the world. So we have fans all over the world. We have Nigerians all over in the diaspora. Afrobeats is becoming a global genre of music that, recently Nigerians are nominated for Grammys and the likes. So it means there's a fan base for Africans and for, Lagos talents globally. What have we done, or what can we do to leverage that audience globally? So we can't just think to our immediate population just in Lagos. We need to know that, if there are people that your brand appeals to in Lagos, there will be similar people all over the world. And how can that translate into, some foreign exchange, translates to getting some dollars in from, leveraging those target audiences all over the world as well. Lewis has mentioned about gamifying things as well. I think that's also a direction that you can also go with, so how can you gamify some of your marketing as well? Leveraging gamified ads in how you're marketing to people outside Nigeria. That's another thing. Nigerians play games. We have the same gaming. We have a very strong gaming culture in Nigeria. That's a trend that, It's globally recognized. How can you leverage your campaigns? How can you do things? How can you create campaigns that are not just the traditional things that people do, your average radio, your TV? How can you include gamified options and engagement into some of the campaigns that you're doing, appealing to people in Lagos and even in the world at large? So yeah, those are some of the examples that I would give.
Thank you so much, Damola, for that insight. My next question would be to Louis. Louis, given your involvement with Gameverse Africa, could you share examples of successful cross-border collaborations within the gaming community and how these collaborations have contributed to the growth of both local and international gaming markets?
Okay, thank you. So the collaborations, okay, let me use Lagos State as an example, right? So in Lagos State, in the games industry particularly, two outstanding brands and communities who have done so much. One of them is Gamer and the other is Africa Communicate. Now, in the games industry, there are lots of issues and then there are lots of challenges. One of them is the ability for game developers to build their games and then push their games out for lots of to the public, for lots of persons to play the game. Now, there is one thing building a good game. There's another thing making people to play that particular game, which has to do lots with marketing, right? And that is an issue. So there are actually platforms that help to facilitate this. And then for indie gamers and then for upcoming newbies, for newbies basically, who are just starting out, who does not have the necessary funds to build this particular, not just to build, but then to push their games. And then it becomes an issue because how would you make money if people are not actually playing your games, right? And then that has to do, to answer that, companies like Africa Communicate. So Africa Communicate is a launch pad for people who wants to go into the games industry. Now, what Africa Communicate does is they bring together lots of gamers. If you're a gamer, if you build anything related to the game, you do 3D art, you're a game developer, or anything that has to do with game. Now, also note that one of the misconceptions about the games industry is that most persons assume that you being into the games industry, you have to be a game developer. It is totally wrong. And then looking at the tech space in general, the tech space has lots of roles and then lots of opportunities, such as product development, such as product management, such as product design, UX design, web development, front end, technical writers, and lots more. Likewise in the games industry. So as a UX person, I can also function in the games industry. As a technical writer, I can also function in the games industry. As in fact, even the games industry need lots of these particular roles and skill sets, right? Because for you to build a particular game, you need lots of things, right? You need audio engineers, you need script writers, you need product managers, you need producers, you need UX designers. So it takes a whole lot of team to build these particular games, right? Then after you've built this game, what happens next? Most times we've seen lots of games that have flopped over the recent phases, right? So one of the collaborations, amazing collaborations that has helped Lagos State and then Nigeria in general is a collaboration between Africa Communicate and Xbox. Now, it was very difficult for gamers to push their games to top AAA companies such as Xbox, such as PlayStation, because I would want my games to be played on PlayStation. But then how do I reach out to PlayStation? You can't just wake up in the morning, build a game, and then you want to write to PlayStation for them to have your games on their store or whatever. It's very, very difficult. Now, one of the collaborations that has helped game developers, game studios generally, is the collaboration between Africa Communicate and Xbox. So Oscar Michael, being the co-founder of Africa Communicate, has partnered with Xbox, the Xbox team. And then now it is very, very easy for developers to reach out to Xbox to have their games on that particular store, which is like a major breakthrough because that's like that's like super big for most game developers and then game creators. That's one of the collaborations that is actually paving the way for building the games industry, thereby giving Africans and also Lagos to position them in that particular space where they can earn and then build the economy. So that's one of the collaborations. Then another collaboration I've seen of recent is a collaboration between Gamer and also Gamer is actually a brand. They are also part of Techstars 23. So Gamer is a community of game game players, professional gamers that come together to play game professionally. Now, also note that esports, which is like esports, which are people that play game professionally, it's actually a role, and then most people earn from it. Now, that means people that are actually good with gaming, they can also earn a living by playing games if they belong to most of these communities, such as gamers, such as Tribe and the likes. And then one of the collaborations that has helped esports in the esports pro game space has been the collaboration between Gamer, and then we've seen the collaboration between Gamer and the French embassy. So most of these collaborations happen internally, right? And then most of the events or conferences or projects that has been ongoing, you get to see the French government having giving gamer support, and also we've also seen that with Africa Communicate. So these are like the two major cross-border partnerships or collaborations that has happened. Now, that being said, there are also partnerships with internal game studios in Nigeria. So we've seen lots of recent game studios partnering with publishers out there to publish their games, and then these collaborations help to boost to guide the game studios and then give them in terms of revenue and then push their games out there, which is what we want. So the more collaborations we get, the more better we can build our stories, our games, and then the better the game industry would grow in Lagos and also in Nigeria. Because the truth of the matter is the games industry is worth that much. And then if we can also tap into that particular industry, we can also gain so much, and then we can build so much that will be recognized. How many of us, we've played Candy Crush, we've played most of these games, right? How many of us have played a Nigerian game? How many of us have played a Nigerian-based game? So these are like one of the issues. I'm not saying truth be told, there are lots of amazing developers in Nigeria. There are lots of amazing studios in Nigeria that are building so much games. I've seen lots of games. I've played lots of games. Personally, I've seen Hyper Casuals. Also in Lagos State, we have the Legends of Orisha. We have Raven Studio building so much games. These games are actually have been recognized globally, and then they are doing so much, right? But then we need that support. We need that collaboration. So yeah, collaboration is simply the key to grow the games industry, and also for the games industry, for people in the games industry to actually, and for other medias, particularly to like we have the media to promote and then talk about it, because most persons are not really aware that these things are happening. And also there was something that happened of recent, which there was this particular game that came up, and then lots of persons were like, Nigerians can't really build better games. But the truth of the matter is, I've seen games that can even rival the top games built by AAA studio, even if they don't really have like a full story yet. But then it's a work in progress. And then if only we can promote our games, and then if only we can, first of all, know the kind of games, know the studios, know the people that are building these games, have these games, play our own games, right? We can do so much more by building the games industry. And then we can also do that by creating, because once, imagine how much one particular game is the revenue that, imagine FIFA, for instance, imagine games like God of War, imagine Spider-Man 2, right? These are games that were built by AAA studios. So imagine the revenue these guys are getting from those games. Now imagine our own game reaping that much of amount globally from the global gamers, right? So that will also boost us and then give us more revenue, and that will also increase our economy. So there are lots of collaborations both internally, cross borders with AAA studios, and then with also gamers. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Louis. I'm really actually very glad that you are shedding light on the gaming industry, because normally I feel like a normal person would just literally just assume that gaming, I just play games on my phone and all that. Well, you mentioning the whole thing about even playing Nigerian games, I don't think I've ever even really thought of that. I'll just see games and I'll just play them as long as they are very attention grabbing for me. And yes, I really agree with you. I think we need to pay more attention to the gaming industry, seeing as it is such a huge industry, and how it can bring a lot of revenue into the economy. Thank you. And before I ask my next question, I would like to tell everyone that is watching us online to please register for the Art of Technology 5.0 happening December 7th and 8th. It's a 2 days of tech extravaganza. And trust me, you will not want to miss it. Because if you miss it, you're going to actually be missing out on a lot. And you're going to have the opportunity to network with visionaries. We're going to meet policymakers. We're going to have conversations, deeper conversations than even this conversation that we're having, deeper conversations about the creative economies. We're going to have very enlightening speakers. We're going to have talk about cutting edge insights, and then there'll be innovation showcase. What is AOT without innovation? Thank you. I will drop the link in the chat box for you to register. The link to register is www.aotlagos.com/register. Thank you. And so my next question is to Adedoyin. Adedoyin, as an author and a communications trainer, what role does storytelling play in shaping the narrative of Lagos creative talents on the global stage? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I was saying, the question was, as an author and communications trainer, what role does storytelling play in shaping the narrative of Lagos creative talents on the global stage?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I'm just going to use the example of the gaming industry that Lewis has just so fantastically opened our eyes to. And, as he was talking, all I was just thinking is, this industry or this sector needs more storytelling, needs more strategic.
Right, because
you understand, there's value there, but the way the world is, you know how they say you have to toot your own horn, you have to talk about what it is that you're doing, you have to tell the story of the gaming industry. So the people that have created games, can we know who are they? Can we know about them? Can their stories be told on multiple platforms, leveraging social media? And that's how creatives need to be thinking. Yes, it's great to do the great stuff and think people will find you, but you're in a time where you also need to put yourself out there. Can we think of strategic partnerships for storytelling? Back in the day, Nollywood, anything that was trending, you can be sure that a Nollywood movie was going to come out about that thing, e.g. Blackberry Babes. I watched that thing until I saw that it started having part 6, part 7. I'm like, what's happening here? But it's essentially the same thing. How can we plug the gaming industry into things that are relevant and then begin to tell that story? You say, oh, do we play Nigerian games? Can you partner with, for example, a mobile phone brand? And Boomplay did this with Techno. Was it Techno? But I think it was Techno, that when you get a phone, you will see that app automatically installed. Can we have a mini version of a game automatically installed? And we used to have it in phones back in the day. And then people want to play the full thing, they get to go and do that on the App Store or whatever it is. And then they share their reviews. But storytelling means you really take charge of making sure that you are showcasing what is unique, what is authentic, and what is exciting about you, so that people know it's all about awareness. It's also all about connecting. And if you bring value, what you're doing is valuable, and you tell the story, it's easier to build a community around yourself or around your brand or what it is that you do as a creative when you are telling these stories, and they resonate better. Stories really, really resonate better. Another thing that I even thought of is we're seeing more animation coming out of Nigeria. Can a gamer partner with someone that is about to or is doing an animation and create the game version of that animation? That's something that can also go viral, and then tell the story around that. There's so many ways, but this really just touches on why storytelling is important, why strategic communications is important. And if I'm going to answer the question on how the skills can be enhanced, is really defining what is the message, because that message is what goes around. What do we want people to know about the gaming industry? What do we want people to know about arts, for example, or about food, about our culture? And then how do we want to tell these stories? What platforms do we want to tell this? And how do we continue to reinforce the messaging so that people can see that, wow, this industry is great. Back in the day, if you said you wanted to be a musician, your parents would roll their eyes. But now people are like, yes, musician, great, you can blow too, because they're seeing possibilities in the people out there. So we have to create those possibilities through stories and the narratives that we create. So those are just a few of the examples that I can give.
All right, so thank you so much, Adedoyin. That's a very, very great one. And I'm so impressed. From Luis to Adedoyin and to Damola. And so from what we are discussing today, one key word from the conversation is collaboration. And I'm so glad right now that even from that collaboration, we have talked about community building and sharing story. So one thing, I actually love the fact that something attracted every one of us on this call. I know that Mola is still going to be attracted. I know he's already attracted to it, but he's going to mention it. And it's the fact that maybe we all had about the possibility of the gaming sector generating a lot of conversation. And then we started using that gaming sector as a case study. So all of us are attracted to the industry. Everybody just want to align with where the money flows and to see what we can actually do better. And I actually agree with Ade doing that. One thing we have to do better is to see how we can share a story, how we can collaborate with other people who are doing something similar in our sector, and to see how we can actually accelerate together. Thank you, Ade doing. And so I'll be giving the floor back to Damilola to actually do justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adedoyin. I really agree with storytelling. I also feel that creatives out there, some people are very creative, but they don't also know how to even tell their story. They have the platform, but they don't know how to use it. They have social media. Literally everyone has social media, but they don't know how to leverage that social media and talk about themselves, talk about their skill or their talents. So I think it's also important for creatives to learn how to put themselves out there and leverage the platform that they have. My next question to you, Adedoyin, would be, being a co-founder of the Comms Avenue, how can collaborative communication initiatives bridge the gap between different sectors within Lagos creative ecosystem, fostering a more unified and impactful presence in the international markets?
I think we've all talked or touched on elements of collaboration, just the different aspects of the creative ecosystem coming together. And one example I can give is if you have a multidimensional campaign that involves food, fashion, art, and they just recently completed ArtX, for example. Imagine incorporating music into that, gaming into that, fashion into that, all the different sectors, and doing some sort of campaign. In fact, all the sectors within the creative ecosystem can come and do something that talks about brand Nigeria. And that's a campaign that can even go beyond Nigeria, can go across Africa, can be global. So it's just really coming together to say, what are the areas of similarity? Because if you're listening to music, you're definitely, or if you're watching a music video, you're seeing fashion there. You can incorporate food there. There's so much you can do. There can be the gaming elements there. There can be the arts and craft part of it. So it's really thinking bigger than yourself or each individual thinking about themselves alone and thinking bigger. I think that's the challenge, is how do we expand this beyond ourselves? And then how do we bring together stakeholders within the sector for a unified purpose? So you'll find that, for example, the oil and gas industry, they have like annual conferences and things like that. So how do stakeholders within this space come together and create something? I know that there was some events. So there's the fashion events that happen. There's the fashion week. There's something for the food guys, something for the people in other sectors. But what if everybody comes together for something really amazing? I think that that would be really good. And that's something that would also foster collaboration. So you come to that kind of thing, you're getting collaborations, you're getting deals signed, you're getting just even awareness, you're getting to exhibit, you're getting to have conversations, you're getting to see how you can work together. I think that that would be such a value add to the ecosystem. And if anybody wants to talk more about it, I'm available to consult for you on that. But I'm joking, by the way, but I think that it will be really good for the ecosystem.
Yes, it is. And I think this is what Art of Technology Lagos is even about, bringing all creatives from every sector. You're a comms manager, there's someone from the gaming sector, there's someone from the digital marketing sector. I mean, AOT is a platform for every creative person from every sector. We're trying to bring together every creative person and trying to see how everyone from their own industry can contribute to the digital Lagos. My next question is to Damola. Given your role as a managing director at DigiSplash, could you share practical insights on successfully bridging the gap between traditional and digital marketing strategies? Particularly in the context of promoting Lagos creative economy on a global scale.
Okay, thank you for the question. So what I always say, what I usually would tell people, so I don't think right now, I would say people should really focus on channels, focus on content. And basically what digital has done is digital has leveling field. So gone are the days when, when people used to rely on flyers, rely on some of, for example, maybe radio. If someone doesn't listen to your song on radio, then, you have to go around to the radio stations to get them to play you. Now your song can go viral on TikTok. Someone can just dance to your song on TikTok and it goes viral. We did a campaign for a real estate company in Dubai. It was founded by a Nigerian, and they won the award for best, I think, for the most sales in Africa, and everything was done for them, from us here based in Lagos. So one thing that digital does for you is digital leverage. It breaks the barriers and it makes more things possible. So it levels the playing field for us as a country and for Lagosians to compete with people all over the world. So a song goes up on a popular platform on Instagram, or like Adedoyin was mentioning, people need to start promoting whatever they have. The digital economy or the creative economy has a lot of stakeholders in it. It isn't just musicians and filmmakers. Architects are, anybody that is creating some form of art is a creative. Architects are part of it. How can you exhibit some of the things that you're doing that you used to exhibit in traditional ways? How can you have a virtual version of it? What we're doing right now is a good example. There's going to be a physical event, but we're holding this virtually. So giving people an opportunity to see what is available. A bank, alternative bank recently did a virtual launch. So they had a physical launch, and they also had a virtual version of the launch using the metaverse. So that's also speaking to the Gen Z and the younger audience as well. So they didn't box themselves to just the people that would attend physically. What digital has done is giving people a wider space, and how much does it cost for you to, put a campaign together, put a strategy together, and just have some form of digital presence. You can start from wherever you are. You can work with an agency if you're a company. Basically, people need to understand that, digital shouldn't be an option anymore. It's a must. Everybody in Nigeria, everybody in Lagos owns a phone. Nowadays, you meet people that they are editing things and they don't even own a computer. Everything they've done is from their phone. Most Nigerians that go online from their phones than on laptops and computers. A lot of people don't even own desktops. Most people's only experience of the internet has been from their phones. The cost of mobile phones have dropped. Everybody owns a phone. You could do a viral video of your dance in Mushi, and somebody is seeing it and is inviting you to dance in a music video in Canada. So what digital has done is digital has, broken barriers. I think one of the issues that a lot of people have is sometimes people think too much about cost, but we are in a content-driven world. Some of the things that Adedoyin mentioned was storytelling. So how can you, even marketing is about storytelling. How can you market whatever? How do you position your brand in a way that is interesting for people to see? So digital has broken the barriers for things like that to be done. So every business today should be thinking about a form of digital transformation. How can they transform the things they are currently doing into some form of a digital form? Everybody owns a phone. Almost everybody in Lagos owns a phone, for example. People globally own a phone. So apart from trying to reach the people that you can reach on just your WhatsApp status, people that you can talk to, your family and friends, how can you leverage 6 billion people all over the world? And that can be done by one single post on digital. So yeah, I think how every creative should think of digital transformation as a must, study it. And if you need to get in touch with experts like Adedoyin and mentioned as well, do that as well. And I think, the Eco Innovation Center and the activities that are coming up soon is the right place to be, to learn more and to be able to do more. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Over to you, Damilola.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the free PR. Okay, my colleague is going to ask the next question now.
All right, thank you so much. I can actually see that as we are drawing close to the end of this session today, I've actually learned a lot of things that are happening. And one thing that conversations like this does is the fact that it actually helps expand our understanding of the ecosystem. And I want you to just answer this question very quickly because we just have some few minutes to the end of this session. In the context of Lagos becoming tech-driven tech ecosystem, how can UX design principles be applied to enhance the user experience of digital platform promoting creative content? So what can you say about that in the context of Lagos?
Okay, so in the context of Lagos, yeah. Lagos is actually a pretty good place because of its population, yeah. And then in sub-Saharan Africa, to be exact, I think 50% of the population in sub-Saharan Africa between the ages of, I think 18 to about 25 or thereabouts, at least more than 40% of the population in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, that's to tell you that most of, almost 50% of the persons living in these particular regions are young persons. And then what do young people want? They are people that don't need stress in terms of anything they want to do, right? So, and that is what user experience is. User experience is you simply building for a better experience, for the feeling and then the usage of people, right? Now, that's to tell you that we need to build better experiences. And how do we do that? First of all, we need to understand that user experience is not just tied to digital products, right? It's tied to every single field that exists. So let's take, for instance, you keep a Lambo and then you keep a Jetta. We all know Jetta, right? You keep a Lambo and then you keep a Jetta. They ask somebody to choose. Do you want the Lambo? Do you want the Ferrari? Or you want the Jetta? Everybody would go for the Lambo. And then everybody will go for the Lambo. The reason why most persons are going for the Lambo, everybody are going for the Lambo, which they don't really understand, is simply because of the UX of the Lambo, not because of the money, not because of anything, simply because of the user experience. Now, if you look at the Lambo and then you look at the Jetta, the UI of the Lambo is way more better than that of the Jetta, which has to do with the colors and the looks of that particular car. Right. Now, if you go inside of a Lambo, the way the seat is being built, the way the throttle, the way the gear and everything, the dashboards were being built, they were built specifically for the users. And then lots of user experience research was put into that particular car. Right. That's to tell you that, that's simply to tell you that user experience plays a vital role in every single thing. Right. Since we've known now that user experience is not just tied to digital products, it's tied to both the agro, it's tied to fintech, it's tied to every single space. Now, what do we do now? All we need to do is to make sure that we build better experiences. One thing I can tell you about Nigerian products, right, is that Nigerian have one of the best designers. If you take a look at a Nigerian product, like a very good Nigerian product, it's better than most of the foreign products I've seen. That's it. But one of the issues we are having is not even in the user experience part of it. One of the issues we are having that I've come to realize is not in the user experience part of it. It lies in the hardcore engineering part of it, right? And then that is one ways which we are having issues. So all we need to do is we need to understand that user experience is so much important because I would not use a product if that product has a bad experience. Give or take, I don't care about the engineering, but if that product has better experience, I'll use it. So one of the reasons why we use the product, be it digital products, be it non-digital product, TVs, refrigerators, and all, it's just because of the user experience. So this particular sector needs to be, I don't really know how to put it, but we really, really need to shine, like lay its importance. And then that being said, we need to make sure that the user experience in every single product that is being built, be it digital, an app, a software, cars, or whatever industry that, or whatever sector we are building, we need to lay lots of emphasis on the user experience. So that means we need to up our user experience game, right? There's a whole lot of push when it comes to engineering, and then you see companies paying so much for the engineering team, and then there's little amount being spent on user experience designers. Technically, if I'm to count the amazing user experience designers I know in Nigeria, I can count a few, right, that are known, because there are some persons that are very, very good, but then they don't like coming out. They just like walking in their closets and then they do their thing, yeah. But then if you want to call the people that are actually good, you would find out that they are just, so it's actually a problem, because when you see most of these products that is not working fine, they actually can rival some other products in some other countries making so much waves. We have the population, we have the numbers, we have, in fact, Lagos is like that particular place where every company needs to go, and that is why we are seeing lots of company coming into Lagos, right? We have Microsoft, right? ADC building in Lagos. We have lots of companies that are coming. They are not coming to okay, but you get the idea, right? We just need to put lots of last sector. Thank you.
I know if I allow you to start talking about this, we won't finish this session, and I'm so careful about the time. We just have 3 minutes. And no so problem. One thing I so much love about the whole conversation we are having this evening is the fact that for all the panelists that we have on this session, is the fact that all of the conversation that has been going on, there is a link between everything that 3 of you are saying. Because I remember that when we started, Damola also mentioned the fact that when you are creating a content, when you are doing anything, you have to actually put your users, the people who are listening to it, you have to actually consider them when you're trying to design anything. And it is still the same thing that you're trying to mention now. And I think this is one important session, important discussion that everybody have to come together. It means we can't build a mighty house. The creative economy cannot be, we can't maximize everything that the creative economy has to offer if everybody is not coming together to collaborate. Imagine you are sharing the idea from the UX, the user's experience aspect. Adedo is sharing the story around storytelling. Damola is sharing. You know, we can only achieve what we are looking towards through a collaboration. And so I'll be asking Damola the last question, and I just want him to do justice to it in just 1 minute. I'm actually scared now because I know Damola wants to take like 3 minutes, but Damola, just please in just 1 minute so that we can close this session and everybody can go have a good evening. So Damola, given your role as the managing director at DigiSplash, could you share the gap between traditional and digital marketing strategies, particularly in the context of promoting Lagos creative economy? Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat?
The question is actually translated.
Okay.
Yeah, so the question, you can actually look at it from the chat box. Given your role as the managing director at DigiSplash, could you share practical insight on successfully bridging the gap between traditional and digital marketing strategies, particularly in the context of promoting Lagos creative economy on a global scale? Thank you.
Okay, I think it's quite similar to the former question, so I'll just try and make it short. You can have a great product, but if nobody knows about it, you're basically winking in the dark. So it's kind of like now a lot of, maybe you're looking to get married, but nobody's seeing you. So marketing is a key part of it, of whatever you do. You know, so a lot of people believe that they don't need to do any marketing, and the marketing is not a priority. But you know, people need to know you to consider you. You know, so and digital, like I had mentioned earlier, has broken a lot of barriers in terms of expense, in terms of reach as well. So you can put an ad out today. You can target Nigerians in the diaspora. You can target investors interested in your products. For creatives, if you're a good UX designer, you have a platform, or you showcase your products, your digital products, or your designs on Behance. You run ads targeting potential buyers and agencies and brands globally. They can find you as well. So what I'll just end with saying is, like I mentioned earlier, you need to look at how you can digitize your services and offerings, and start from wherever you are. Don't think that you need to have huge budgets to do it. All you need to do is put content out. Digital space, anything can go viral. You don't know when what you do can go viral. You can't go viral if you're never even present. So that's never going to happen. It's not a miracle. So at least be present. Do the part that you can, and you increase your chances of getting lucky, if there's anything like luck. But if you're present, then there's a higher chance that you'll be found. So yeah, I think I'll just end there.
Wow, thank you very, very much. Thank you to all our panelists this evening. It's so great to have every one of you. Thank you, Adedoyin. Thank you, Damola. Thank you, Lois. I'm going home with a lot of lessons, even as a programs and learning manager. Thank God learning is part of my duty. So I've learned a lot this evening. And I think I am so excited. I'm super excited. And to all our audience who have joined us from every over the platform, we are so saying thank you. And we want you to look forward to the big event, which is the OUT. Everybody will be coming together, able to collaborate, meet new persons, discuss what you are doing. Because Damola said something this evening, and that's what I'm going on with, is the fact that you want people to actually come into your task or into your duty. You have to know what you are doing. You have to show that you are actually in the game. You have to be present. And so every one of us will be going this evening just to have a good evening. Thank you very much. We are glad we have spent about 2 minutes beyond the time. We are so sorry about that, but that is not part of our duty. But this conversation is a very great one that we just have to listen. And so thank you. I don't know if you want to say something. I see your hands up. You're trying to say something.
Sorry,
Please,
that's a mistake.
Okay. Thank you, Damilola. Thank you for actually I'm hoping to see Damola, Lois, and Adedoyin during the OT conversation in the next few weeks. Thank you very much. Good evening. We love you. We are so happy to have you. It's a very, very great conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.